What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show. It's Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. Getting into the week here, we've got a lot to talk about. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. That's 800-313-9443. Mike is in our control room, ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations here. So let's get right on into it. We are seeing the beginning of a schism between the federal government and several of the states. Apparently, Governor Cuomo is sort of the ringleaders. There's about 6 states, all with Democratic governors, and they're basically getting ready to reopen their economies. And Donald Trump, unfortunately, has made a huge mistake. He's listening to his ego and saying, no, I'm in charge. I'll say when it reopens. And he's making a big mistake. Now, let's take a good look at what's going on here. Let's say that these 6 states reopen their economies. And Trump says, all right, you're the governors of the states. It's your state. You go ahead and do it, which is basically where the Constitution lies on all of this. You know, Trump is not a king, and he's acting like one right now, and that's going to cost him votes in November. So basically, let's say these governors open the states, and there's a resurgence of coronavirus cases. Well, then Trump can blame it on the governors, and he's off the hook. Now, the downside is simple. Up until this point, the economic downturn can be blamed on coronavirus. That's what they've been doing all along. Every time the stock market goes down, it's coronavirus fears. And let's say these states reopen and the coronavirus doesn't resurge, doesn't come back, and all of a sudden, people are going to stop thinking that it wasn't the coronavirus that knocked the economy down. It was Donald Trump shutting down everything. And that's going to cost him November. So Trump would have been better off going along with the governors and saying, the ball's in your court. Just sort of take himself out of the line of fire here. He's listening to his ego. He's out there. He's sort of like doing the latter-day Richard Nixon. I am the president. So they're describing it as a declaration of independence. Trump is out there saying that's not going to happen. And so they're launching this coronavirus council to coordinate reopening along I-95, the COVID corridor is what they're calling it. And Andrew Cuomo rejects Trump's claim of total authority to lift shutdowns. So will this lead to civil war? I certainly hope not. But that's how the last one started, over states' rights. I think Trump just made a really, really bad mistake, because I don't expect we're going to see coronavirus resurge if these states reopen their economies. The numbers just aren't there. And to give you a good example of how the numbers just have never really been there, remember over in Seattle, they built this field hospital. The U.S. Army put this thing together. It's closed after 3 days. 0 patients. Nobody showed up. They built this whole hospital, just not there. These 2 Navy ships, one of them has only 20 patients. It's a fizzle, as pandemics go. It's a fizzle. It's like the 2009 when pigs flew. They made a big deal about that. And it just didn't happen. Okay, the other news is that Barack Obama has finally endorsed Joe Biden for president. He made an 11-minute-long video message saying that Biden has all the qualities we need in a president right now, and why he believes his former running mate is the candidate needed at this moment in time. Now, interestingly, there's a report, there's a report out now that apparently Obama was the one who convinced Bernie Sanders to drop out of the race. Apparently there were a lot of phone calls going back and forth, and Barack Obama convinced Bernie Sanders to drop out and then eventually endorsed Joe Biden. Now, what's going on behind the scenes? Because I don't think that Obama did this out of the goodness of his heart. Is he really going to try and get Biden to pick Michelle Obama as his vice presidential running mate? I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, Michelle's an okay person, but doesn't really have the qualifications to be vice president. especially if Joe Biden is not able to complete his first term. I'll be honest, I'll take Michelle Obama over Hillary Clinton any day. Anyway, let's take a phone call. Keith Rogers, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I got an email earlier. It was a video of where Trump was dumping this Fauci, or whatever his name is, and also Bill Gates' scare tactics there. So I can send you the video and you can watch it for yourself later on. But it seems like he says that he'll open the economy in May. So that's still half a month away.
Well, for the purpose of 2 weeks, I think he should have gone along with the governors and say, all right, it's your state, and you live with the consequences.
Yeah.
But as long as he stands up there and, says, I'm the boss and I'm in charge and I've got this incredible authority and what the president wants to do is what the president wants to do, that's going to offend a lot of conservatives.
Yeah, it will. But I think Trump on this area is like many millions of Americans that are thinking right now, if they don't do something with the economy, we're not going to have a country to open back up.
It may already be right.
It may be, Mike. But I also see now where the debt collectors, they are just waiting for those checks, those stimulus checks to be deposited to go ahead and seize them for all those people, for the debt collectors. I mean, this shows you the mentality of this country, those vultures,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just want to tell you that, and I'll send that video over to you, okay?
All right. Thanks an awful lot. I appreciate that.
All right, my best to you.
All right. Now, Biden, of course, is dealing with another issue, which, of course, is this sexual assault claim, who's filed a criminal complaint. And interestingly enough, the New York Times did a story about it, and then they went back and they edited it to remove references to past hugs, kisses, and touching. We've all seen the videos, Creepy Joe, Creepy Uncle Joe. He's always got his hands on the kiddies and the girls and everything. And it turns out the New York Times is admitting that they edited the piece because Biden's campaign complained to them. So they're already out there playing favorites with the Democrats and the liberals. You can bet if there was a sexual assault claim against Donald Trump this season, they'd be running with it and they wouldn't pull any punches. Speaking of not pulling any punches, Chris Cuomo did a radio show interview. Now, as you know, he's dealing with COVID-19. And he had this meltdown on the radio show, and he blasted his own CNN job, saying that he doesn't like what he does professionally, and he's trafficking in things that he thinks are ridiculous. I don't think he's going to have a job for very much longer there at CNN. Boy, it just feels kind of, everything's getting flaky out there. Getting into the economic news, first of all, it was a really good day on the stock market. The Dow ended 558 points up. And, of course, we don't know what the non-indices stocks are doing because the stock rigging is done primarily with the stocks that make up these three indexes, the Dow, the Standard & Poor's, and the NASDAQ. So we don't know what the rest of it's doing. And the stock market is really disconnected from the real economy. And the real economy is in trouble. It's in the toilet. It's circling the drain. And somebody's hand is on that flush lever. And if we don't get this country running again, that lever is going to get pushed and our economy is really going to be in trouble. There's a prediction out there that our entire economy could shrink by 1/3. 2 million people could lose their jobs if this lockdown lasts 3 months. Over in Saudi Arabia, because of the oil deal and the price crash, because of the demand crash for oil, they're having to issue debt. That's something Saudi Arabia very rarely does. In fact, the first time they did it was right after that oil price war with Russia. And now they're having to do it again. Now, Amazon, on the other hand, is hiring. They're going to add 75,000 jobs, and they're going to let their sellers ship non-essential products once again as online orders surge during coronavirus lockdowns. And this is a perfect case of being in the right place at the right time, because we're hearing that the big box stores are being told only sell essential items because they want less foot traffic going in to those stores. What are people going to do? They're going to go to Amazon. Amazon's going to make out like bandits with this thing. The other group that's making out like bandits right now is the online porn industry. Because there's a lot of women out there who need money, and they're willing to basically become what are called camera girls, you know, and they can make good money. So last week, McDonald's, this week, cam girl. Apparently, the porn moguls, they almost can't deal with the crowds of women who want to come in and do this. Anyway, economists are predicting a flood of bankruptcies more than the Great Recession of 2008 to 2010. And banks are bracing for these mortgage defaults because that's going to affect their bottom line as well. Okay. Now, supposedly, as of today, the economic impact payments are going to hit bank accounts today for those with direct deposit. Everybody else is going to have to wait for a check. Okay. Now, the gun grabbers are coming. The gun grabbers are coming. Joe Biden, of course, he's campaigning on grabbing the guns, saying there are certain guns you don't need to have. Well, that's really not your choice to make there, Joe. That Second Amendment's pretty firm, and it's backed up by a couple of Supreme Court decisions that say we, the American people, have a right to keep and bear arms equal to those of the uniformed forces. Their latest argument, though, from the gun grabbers is, you know, the zombies aren't really coming. You don't need those guns to kill zombies because zombies aren't real. You're all such children for thinking, well, of course, we joke about the zombies. We really do. And the zombies aren't coming. But that's their latest argument. You don't need the guns. The zombies aren't coming. And even if they did, the army would take care of them. Anyway. But of course, Biden is going into the general election as a gun grabber. And the election is 7 months away, but voters are already focusing in on that issue. Gun owners and the industry that supports them are looking at Biden and saying, yeah, he's really serious about this. He wants to take away the guns. Now, somebody who's doing very well during this period of lockdown are the Raspberry Pi people. Now, if you're a computer enthusiast, you're probably already aware of it. The Raspberry Pi is a complete computer on a single card. I had two of them I was playing with in Oahu. I don't know why I didn't bring them to Indiana. They're so small, but I didn't. But they're a lot of fun. They're Linux machines, and it's all on one little tiny card. HDMI plugs, USB, little power connector and a keyboard and a monitor, and you got a full working computer just in this little tiny space. They're amazing devices, and people are buying them because they're sitting at home. They want something to do. They get a Raspberry Pi, and they start learning Linux. And they start playing with it. And I remember when I had the Raspberry Pi, the first thing I said is, this has brought back how much fun having a computer can be. Sort of brought back memories of, like, you know, the Commodore 64 and the Apple II and the Commodore Amiga. Those machines were fun. So they've apparently hit 640,000 units sold in March, the second largest month since launching in 2012. And apparently people are using the Raspberry Pi 4 for inexpensive homeworking and learning. That Pi 4 is close to being equivalent to a desktop computer. All right, let's grab another phone call. Paul in Montana. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Paul, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. You're on the air. What's on your mind?
Captain Crozier and Surgeon General Jerome Adams. It sure would be nice to hear more about them. They sound like real Americans, and I'm listening.
Well, I'm in agreement with you about Captain Crozier, and I'm rather appalled that the Navy has not issued an apology to him. There's something like 560 sailors on the Theodore Roosevelt down with the COVID-19. One sailor has died, and the ship is now declared as being non-operational. They're rushing out another carrier battle group to replace it. So Crozier's concerns were valid. He's been vindicated, and I think the Navy needs to apologize and possibly reinstate his command. Okay, so moving right along here. And we are going to talk about coronavirus because it's hard to find anything else. It's like Syria's not happening, and Afghanistan's not happening, and Iran is not happening, the economy's not happening. It's all coronavirus all the time. And I'm sick of it. I really am. But we're going to go along with this here a little bit here. So coronavirus cases have now passed 2 million worldwide. And the milestone, not a positive one here. Yet another Democratic governor, New Mexico's Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, amended her mass gathering ban to fight the spread of coronavirus to include houses of worship. All across the country, we're seeing churches being closed. But those abortion clinics, those are essential businesses, and they're still open. I think that's absurd. Apparently, there's evidence surfacing that COVID-19 leaves behind permanent conditions ranging from sensory loss, smell and taste, to heart and lung damage. Unlike the flu in that regard. You get the flu, you get over it, you recover fully. Apparently, COVID-19 leaves lasting damage. According to friends of Captain Brett Crozier, he was concerned that 50 of his crew would die from coronavirus, and he wrote that letter knowing it might cost him his job, which it did. But as I said before, I think the Navy owes him an apology. Not that the Navy's really big on apologies, but I think they owe him an apology here. Okay, China has apparently admitted, or at least they've released documents that admit, to harvesting and testing COVID-19-like coronaviruses at the Wuhan lab using grant money from the U.S. government under former President Obama. Obama was paying for this. Keep in mind. So it was a $3.7 million grant to the Wuhan lab, and it was performing experiments on bats from the caves where the disease is believed to have originated. But of course, you're all supposed to believe it originated in that wet market, just like we're all supposed to believe that the 1918 flu came from Spain, which it didn't. It emerged on a U.S. military base, Camp Funston. The Burning Man Festival for this year has been canceled out of concerns about the coronavirus. And, that's a shame. I mean, it looks like it's a fun festival. I've never been. It's on my bucket list, but apparently it's been canceled this year. Everybody's getting ready to have what are called antibody tests. The concern here is that more people have had the coronavirus than are aware of it, that many of them can have it and not show symptoms. It's a little bit like dengue fever. You've probably heard about that one. Dengue fever, in about 3 to 5% of its cases, will go hemorrhagic, and it'll be fatal. In about 20% of the cases, it hits you like a mild flu. And for the rest, there are no symptoms. You can have dengue and not know it. When I got it, I was lucky I had the mild flu symptoms. This appears to be the same. People can get the coronavirus, COVID-19, and not know it. They're asymptomatic. They can still be contagious, by the way, but they're developing antibody tests so they can test you afterwards and say, oh, you've already had it. And you've got antibodies, which means you're immune. And now they're talking about something called the immunity passport, which is they're going to issue a card, another little paper that you have to show at the checkpoints. Your papers, please, your papers, please. Oh, you have an immunity passport. It's okay for you to be out of your house. So we got to take a break for commercials. I'm going to try and get my throat back in order, and we'll be right back. And a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is in the middle of a fundraising drive, and we need your help to stay on the air. We need your help to keep providing information to you like this. And when you get your stimulus check, if you could shave off just a little tiny bit for Republic Broadcasting, there's no such thing as too small a donation. For that matter, there's no such thing as too big a donation. I just wanted to clear that up a little bit. But anything that you can send along, the postal address to send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity, cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. And of course, donations to whatreallyhappened.com. There's a little donate button on the main page. We're going to go back to the phones here to Daniel in British Columbia. Aloha, Daniel. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, aloha, Mike. I'll be real quick. So this morning I was listening to WBAP. It's a conservative news radio talk show in Dallas, Fort Worth, and they had the Chris Salcedo show. That's SALCEDO, and he had Mike Pompeo on as a guest. And this Chris Salcedo wanted to ask him all about coronavirus, which Mike Pompeo did, about getting back to work and so forth. But then Mike Pompeo went off about Venezuela and Iran. So I just thought I'd leave that, food for thought, because even at this time of crisis, like they're still on targeting Iran and Venezuela, which I might think, it would be a perfect time for them to do something, because there ain't going to be any protests in the streets for that. And maybe the Rivero Rangers can phone. They've got a 1-800 number at the Chris Salcedo show. Maybe tomorrow, maybe one of your callers who has the gift of gab can challenge this guy and say, hey, we don't want your war, and we've got better things to do, like you're trillions in debt already, and maybe you can get through the call screener, and maybe because the guy's pretty fair, actually. He lets liberals go on there and debate him. But anyways, I just thought I'd leave you guys with that.
Well, thank you for the information. Do you have the 800 number?
I do not. I figured anyone could just go on WBAP, I should say, and find the Chris Salcedo show, and they have the 1-800 number right on the website.
All right, fantastic. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go here. Getting on back to the news here. We have been hearing all kinds of conflicting reports about the survivability of COVID-19. That it will pop immediately in air, that it can survive inside water droplets, can survive on surfaces, and so forth and so on. Apparently, there's a new study out of the CDC that shows coronavirus can survive for hours on floors, walls, and shoes. Another vector people haven't been thinking about is, walking around and having the virus on the shoe. Because if you cough it out and it's in water droplets, eventually it's going to settle. Where's it going to settle? On the floor. So you could pick it up on your shoes and walk it into your house. And the new research is suggesting that nurses, doctors, and others contract the virus out of the wards and into another, perhaps a more public environment. Apparently, nobody had really considered this could be a vector for the disease. All righty. Now then, new research is showing that anti-coronavirus drugs could be produced for pennies. And apparently, they're looking at remdesivir, which I believe was only recently patented. It's a drug used to treat SARS and Ebola. It can be produced for just 93 cents per daily dose, and a combination of hepatitis C medications, sofosbuvir and declatasvir, say that 3 times fast, can be made for just 39 cents. This would translate to just $9 and $5 respectively for a full course of treatment. Of course, Big Pharma's not going to like that. They want very expensive medications that have high profit margins. We're going to see that argument going on out there. One of these days we'll have to go back over and look at hydrazine sulfate and cancer. Okay, several meat processing plants around the U.S. have temporarily shut down following hundreds of workers testing positive for coronavirus. This comes at a time when Americans are trying to stock up in food because supply chains are being disrupted. And we are hearing warnings already that there could be significant food shortages within a matter of mere weeks. So this is where the preppers are going to be sitting there and laughing at the non-preppers until the non-preppers grab a gun and start saying, "Give me your food." So police busted a Christian service this last Sunday, and they criminally charged the pastor for having 16 people in a 293-seat building, and they were all spaced apart. They were all respecting social distancing. But this happened in Virginia, and the charge is violating Governor Northam's COVID Order 55 with a penalty up to a year in jail and or a $2,500 fine. We're going to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back. And welcome back to our show here. Now, some weeks ago, Bishop Gerald Glenn, the founder and pastor of New Deliverance Evangelistic Church, declared that God is larger than this dreaded virus, referring to COVID-19. He passed away Saturday from COVID-19. And we're going to take a phone call now from Bruce in Texas. Aloha, Bruce. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well,
you're on the air. You're on the air.
Oh, I went straight from the. I went straight into on the air. So I'm sorry. Hey, I noticed you mentioned this. You say there were documents released by the Chinese government confirming cooperation or a grant from the U.S. for them to research COVID coronavirus. Okay, and that's noted, and we can't discount that. You know, on the face of it, I just want to just give you a little, you know, need to look at this thing at all sides. You know, you do recall that prior to 9/11. We had the USS Cole was hit.
Yes.
Allegedly by suicide boaters and what have you. There, and later it was revealed that there was explosive residue on there that could be traced to either U.S. or Israeli munitions.
Yes, I remember that clearly.
Yeah, that, and then you also had the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
That blew up. That Osama bin Laden, given credit for, and also you had that time frame. You also had the Kenyan embassy that was blown up. So that all that lays down the groundwork. And these buildings that exploded, just like the Murrah Federal building, were destroyed with very, very high explosives, higher than you would think someone could pack into a truck, conventional stuff. Okay, so there had been some exotic stuff being used there. But all this lays the groundwork, sets the narrative for the desired public consumption narrative that to come with a big event, which was 9/11. Okay, and so I'm just saying, we just need to think about it. Maybe the Chinese were kind of duped into accepting this grant and doing this research on behest of the U.S. government. So later on, the finger could be pointed at them.
Entirely possible. You make a good point.
Okay. I just wanted to, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking my call. Sorry for the problem. And I'm sure someone will call in to rebut it, but there you have it. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Ryan in Ohio. Aloha, Ryan. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah. The shale oil, where they say, it's too expensive to make and it's going to go bellies up, and Russia and Saudi Arabia and all those, they lower the oil so much it's going to just bankrupt the shale oil company. And this is what I've always thought for years and years, for a decade at least. We should be self-sufficient with everything. I always thought gasoline, we should be self-sufficient. So if the shale oil companies in America, they need $50 a barrel to make a profit, I say that the shale oil companies and the United States government, they sell the shale oil to us only. All the shale oil that's made, it stays directly in the United States. The shale oil companies don't go out and sell it. So if oil falls below $20 a barrel, because, Russia and China are fighting Russia and Saudi Arabia are fighting with each other, they're not making a profit at $20 a barrel, even in Saudi Arabia at that, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Well, we say, okay, well then, and you make a law with the Congress so that they can't do anything about the pricing. But when the shale, because the oil that comes in, because the shale oil isn't a much, because I guess we still have to bring in 50% or less oil from out of the country. If it blows to $20 a barrel, we bring it in, but we sell it. We then make the gasoline, and we still sell the gasoline as though it's $50 a barrel. So let's say it's down to 80 cents because it's $20 a barrel. Well, the U.S. government says, okay, it's going to be $2 a gallon, and that's all tax for the government to take in. And that keeps the shale oil companies at $50 a barrel because that's what it costs them to make a profit. And then if oil goes to $80 a barrel, then shale oil can put theirs to $80 a barrel, but they've got to keep their oil, gasoline, shale oil in the United States because them going out and selling it is just ridiculous. That they're not really making a profit. Does that make any sense to you? To me, I always felt like that's the way to keep the shale oil companies profitable. So it's almost like the government would want barrel to go down to $20 a barrel because then they can bring in all this tax money because we keep the sale of gasoline at like $2 a gallon, which would be $50 a barrel. And so there's $1.20 a gallon tax that the government's getting by keeping it at $50 a barrel, even though it comes in at $20 a barrel. We just tax it to $2 because, $2 a gallon is really cheap, and that's about that's like $50, $60 a barrel, $2 a gallon here in Ohio when it goes there.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I'm understanding what you're saying, and the government could do that just by putting tariffs on foreign imported oil. That would get the refineries to go along with it because they're going to be looking for the lowest price raw material that they can find.
It wouldn't really have to be.
The people who are not really going to be very happy with this, of course, are drivers, who are really enjoying the fact that gas prices are very low if they actually had someplace they were allowed to go.
When gas, but $2, because I depend on gasoline, but $2 a gallon, you're doing good. It's when gas goes up to $3 and $4, that's when you're like, oh my goodness. But at $2, it's not that much of a budget squeeze. But 88 cents right now, or 99 cents in Ohio, in Cleveland. I mean, that's just like you don't even think about it right now. But so everybody's even Russia and Saudi Arabia are actually losing money by selling it that cheap. So it's not like it's going to last forever. So just say $50 a barrel. The truck drivers will get used to it. They know it's never going to go below $2 a barrel, and they do their budget on that. Unless of course it goes up to $100 a barrel, then the shale oil companies make a whole lot of money. That's the way to keep them from going out of business. That's a lot of workers that would go out of business if the shale oil went bellies up.
Well, the other problem you need to look at is that the shale oil has never really developed the way the forecasts said it would. They're not getting the volume of oil out of these fracking wells that they thought they were going to. And that's another reason they're feeling the squeeze, because their unit cost of extraction is so much higher than for a more conventional approach to oil drilling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, so just keep it at $50 a barrel, because that's what the shale oil company says. We got to sell it at $50 a barrel to make a profit. And at $50 a barrel, that's only $2 a gallon gas in the United States. That's pretty cheap. So, it'll never fall below $2 a gallon because the shale oil companies, we're keeping it at $50 a barrel. That way, the shale oil companies in America will never go out of business then. And I don't mind paying $2 a gallon as long as it keeps 3 million guys in business with these drilling rigs and shale oil.
All right. Well, it's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. Like I said, a tariff would do it. Thank you very much for the phone call. And we're going to switch over to Jerry in Chicago. Jerry in Chicago, welcome to the show. What is on your mind?
Aloha, Mike. Thanks for taking my call. It's been a while since I called in. Hey, listen, I just wanted to cover something about the death total with this coronavirus here is 23,000 plus as of today.
Yes.
And, 35% of the people had respiratory illnesses already.
Yes.
You had 29% of the people had diabetes. 22% of the people had chronic illnesses. That comes out to 86%.
Yes.
So let's round it off and just do the simple math. That comes to approximately 3,200 people died of coronavirus, give or take, due to coronavirus, not other illnesses that they just tacked on. I mean, if somebody went outside and decided to off themselves with a bullet, they wrote it down as a coronavirus death.
Well, I think what part of what's going on, of course, is the initial predictions for coronavirus was that it was going to be this horrible monster, and it's just not there. And so they're trying to gin the numbers up and get them up any way that they can, so it doesn't look like that big of that they missed by that much. But they did. They missed by a huge amount. And like I said, this is 2009 all over again.
Well, with the number that they're giving us, 23,000. They're still about 400% less than who died of the flu virus just last year. So, I mean,
it was a record
got a
year
long
for
way to
flu.
go. Okay. All right. Well, hey, that's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Don in Arizona. Aloha, Don. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Oh, Mike, the first thing that they closed when this corona came to America, the first thing that closed was the Arnold Classic. It was a bodybuilding, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Arnold Classic in Ohio. Arnold had nothing to do with that. That was the governor of Ohio that closed that. But a few months ago, just before this corona started, I happened to see a video with Arnold Schwarzenegger on YouTube. And first, whatever you think about Arnold, I don't think anybody's going to say he's stupid. I mean, the guy is not stupid. He's
not.
Top athlete, top actor, top businessman, and a top politician. He did everything. I mean, he's not a dumb guy. Now, this was a little video.
He's very funny. And do you know how hard it is to tell jokes in a second language?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't. Well, yeah, I do. I tell jokes in a second language. But Arnold is a smart guy, and he was being kind to some kid, some youngster, maybe it was his son or something. I don't know, was doing a video with Arnold, and the subject was, what is in his refrigerator? What's in your refrigerator, Arnold? And he was talking about the food that he has, different kinds of foods and stuff. And during the course of this interview, he said he always thought when he lifted weights, he thought that all the germs that he picked up from the different weights and stuff, the bacteria, was good because it gave his body a workout. It gave his immune system a workout. And he even said he'd go into a restaurant and tell him to scrape everything up off the floor and put it in his omelet, which I think that's going too far. But the first part, a lot of people believe that, including me. I've always believed that I never washed my hands my whole life. They call me whatever you want to call me, but I've had a healthy life, all right? I mean, I'm not saying never, but basically I don't wash my hands after going to the bathroom or anything like that. And I think he was serious when he said that. It builds up your immune system to have just go ahead and take it head on. And I believe it's the same thing with this thing.
I agree. I agree.
There's no reason to hide from this virus because you're going to be exposed to it. They even admit it's going to come back every year. You have to so this whole thing is just a power grab. They're telling you stay in your house. It's a lot similar to after 9/11 when they said basically said the same thing. Be fearful, be afraid, be very afraid all the time of everything. I mean, they're trying to scare everybody. It's fear mongering. And I'll let you go, Mike. That's about all I want to say. Thanks.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. I'm going to share a Schwarzenegger story with you. When he was first starting out as a bodybuilder, and he was doing very well. It's before his acting career or anything like that. And, everybody was always asking, what's your secret? What's your secret? Well, you don't want to give your secrets away. You're out there. You're going for the Mr. Universe title and everything. So he used to tell up-and-coming weightlifters that he rubbed peanut butter all over his body at night before he went to bed. And, of course, it was a joke. And nobody really knows how many aspiring bodybuilders actually did that based on his advice. But that's the kind of the way his mind works. All right, we're going to go to Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I like Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, but please, whatever anybody does, don't watch Hercules Goes to New York. Horrible.
That was a pretty bad movie. That was the winner of the Golden Turkey Awards. Gobble, 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 gobble.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It's up there, but it's still better than the trailer for 5G Zombies. Did you check that one out?
No, I haven't. Hercules Goes to New York was never released. It had to escape.
That's good. All right, Mike, on the oil thing.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia can get a barrel of oil out of the ground for $3.
Okay.
$3 a barrel. So like it's hard to match that. And then if you decided to cut Saudi Arabia out of everything now, because we still import more oil. You know, we use a lot of oil in this country. It's just a fact.
Yes, we do.
You know, but not right now though, obviously. But like, but you can kiss the petrodollar goodbye. I mean, that's it, man. You know, it's all about the petrodollar. Yeah, that's what it's about. You know, and unfortunately, you know, if you cut Saudi Arabia out, it's like you're cutting your own throat, basically. You know, there's just no way the shale oil producers will ever. I mean, basically, what that caller was saying is subsidizing them, right? I mean, you're talking about a rigged market where the price
Yes.
is rigged. So basically, you're like OPEC, basically. So there's no difference between what you would do than OPEC does, right? You
Pretty
rig
much.
the price. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things involved. You know, I mean, shale oil never produced the profit, right? Like, it's like, if you look, I think it was Chesapeake, their like stock was 15 cents a share or something real bad. One of the companies, I forgot, like filed for bankruptcy. But I mean, some people think it was more of just the bank. It had to do with the banking system, right? Like it was a fraud, shale oil. You know, like a pipe dream or whatever.
Yeah, it was a pipe dream, literally pipe dreams. They really thought that they were going to find a wealth of oil down there, and it just hasn't produced the way the predictions said it would. And that's why their unit cost of extraction is so high. And no, they can't compete with conventional oil pumping. They can't get it out of the ground at $3 per barrel. And at the point where it costs a barrel's worth of energy to get the oil up to the surface of the ground, to get a barrel of oil up to the surface of the ground, the party's over. Doesn't matter how much is down there. If it costs more to get up than it's actually worth, then, you know, you shut everything down and you send your people home.
And shale oil needs between 50 and 60 to break even. So think about that.
Yes.
You know, there's just no way you'll compete with the Saudis. I think in Russia it's $12 a barrel. You know, so I mean, you just can't compete. Yeah, shale oil costs more to do, and yeah, that's just. I don't think that's going to happen. And then, Mike, real quick, I know you got other calls on the virus. A lot of people keep not. You got to look at Sweden. They're doing the herd immunity thing. They're up to 1,000 or whatever, and there's potties starting to pile up over there. But I mean, you people do realize because we're all locked down, the numbers are low. Like that's the conundrum we're in. How do you bring back the economy? Obviously, it's got to be done slowly and one part at a time. But how do you do that, Mike? Because if you just bring it back all at once, it's like you never even started doing any lockdown, right? And that's all I got to say. Have a good show.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be back with another phone call after these few words. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Sebastian in Sweden. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, hello, Mike. I think it was last week Dustin wanted to know from New Jersey wants to know the demographics, and I had a hard time finding it, but I found one demographic. It was over 55 years of age and over. It's 3,253,000 in Sweden, and that's the age what is most critical as far as coronavirus concerned. And another thing, the herd mentality with coronavirus, and people have been talking about in Sweden. There's 11,445 as of today, and this 1,033 has died, and the recovered rate is 381, and that's because of our hospital system that's gone down the drain. Compare that with Switzerland, 25,936, 1,174 deaths, and 13,700 recovered. And I just compare those two countries. Compare those two countries. I can compare other countries with the same amount. Like Israel has the same amount as Sweden, and their deaths is 133 and recovered is 2,195.
Well,
but I mean, Sweden, the hospital.
What's really interesting, I was going to say what's really interesting is looking at Sweden, they have not done the lockdowns that other countries have, and yet they've got better numbers on COVID-19 than Great Britain does.
Yeah, well, if you compare with Great Britain, but compare Sweden with Switzerland, Switzerland has a much better track record. In Israel, for instance, with the same number of people that have the COVID-19 with Sweden. So, I mean, they weren't prepared. They didn't have their resources. They didn't have enough masks. Nurses are actually making plastic, what do you call it, waste paper bags, huge waste paper bags, like 125-liter bags. They're making aprons. They're making masks of vacuum cleaner bags, which is pretty good, actually, when you think about it, because it's actually better than a regular mask. And, you know, so Sweden is not all that good. And the only thing you can think about, wait another 6 months, and then we'll compare statistics. And then we can really say, is this herd mentality with everyone getting it good? I know that a lot of old people's homes, retirement homes in Sweden, have almost been wiped out. And I know the reason why, because our government, our social democratic, I'm getting really, peed off now. Our social democratic government wants to move out the pensioners, and they've already did that before the COVID in Stockholm, to have these for new immigrants coming from the Middle East. They want to move out the pensioners and put immigrants in the flats, in the housing, and that really, it really makes me mad, But calming down, I was hearing about the price of gas in America. In Sweden,
Okay, Sebastian,
it's $5 a gallon.
Sebastian, I got to put you on hold. Don't hang up. I'm going to come back to you after station identification. And welcome back to our show, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, and we're talking with Sebastian in Sweden about the price of oil and gas. So, Sebastian, if you could just sort of continue where you left off.
Okay, I've calmed down now. I've counted to 10.
Good.
No, I mean, I saw a caller before talked about the price of gas in the state, in America now. And right here is cheap. I haven't seen it so cheap. But you know what that is? When I speak, it's $5 a gallon. That's cheap in Sweden. And most European countries are the same way as, well, I don't know, maybe not as the same as Sweden, but I know it's America has such cheap gas. It's more than most countries in the world, actually, except for maybe Russia or some South American countries, perhaps, and of course Saudi Arabia. I know my ex-mother-in-law used to have she lives on the border to Russia, and she had a visa, and the visa was so cheap for a year visa that she would go and fill up in Russia, and at that time it was like $1 a gallon. And this was only 10 years ago. And she would just go and, fill her car up every time she wanted to get gas from Russia. But I mean, it's, we'll see about that. I'm sure it's going to go up again because something's going to happen eventually. I don't know what it is, but I have a bad feeling about this with people. The military is coming in this coming week, and going to, test people on the COVID-19 down in the country, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the end. I don't understand this. I mean, no other influenza has ever been like this. If it's a normal influenza, why would they, have it, so spectacular? It's like an event that it's almost like someone said in one of your callers, it's like another 9/11. And I can see that. What's the end game? We know the end game in 9/11 was the what do you call it? The new
USA Patriot Act.
Gestapo in America.
Yeah.
So the Patriot Act, the Gestapo Patriot Act, and the Homeland Security. Those Stasi Gestapo people, and of course the Tourist Suppression Agency, as you call it, TSA.
Yes.
That's another Gestapo that came after 9/11. So what's going to come after this? Is it going to be a police or military on every corner? I mean, what's going to happen?
It's going to be electronic. It's going to be constant surveillance on all people. I mean, they're starting the system with the idea that they can track who's contagious with certain diseases, and it won't stop with COVID-19. They'll track people. Your phone will tell you if you're standing next to somebody who's got AIDS or the flu or German measles or who knows what all else here. But that's where it's going with this total surveillance state.
We just take a like a walkie-talkie, VHF, UHF, and just leave your cell phone at home, or put it in the Faraday cage. A Faraday cage is so easy to make.
Yes.
You go in any grocery store and get a box of orange juice and pour it out, and it's like aluminum. It's like, no, it's not aluminum. It's called what is it called? It's like a cellophane that's
Mylar.
Mylar. Yeah, that's right. And you can just make an easy Faraday cage as long as you turn the cell phone off. Turn it off first, and then put it. If you don't turn it off, it's going to try to find the signal inside the cage, and it's going to run the battery down. So turn it off. Put it in the box or whatever you have, aluminum foil or whatever. Perfect Faraday cage. It's so easy to make.
Yeah,
well,
but
that's all I had to say. I'm sorry about. I was a little bit upset, Mike. But you take care of yourself, and Dustin and Tom and Peter and everyone take care of themselves. Joe in Tennessee, and I hope you have good health. And God bless you all in the States.
Well, thank you all very much for the kind thoughts, and thank you for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Arnold in Florida. Arnold, hello. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. It's great to talk to you. Never called in before. I want to make the case that it's time to end the lockdown. If you remember, the lockdown was never about. The lockdown was never about keeping people from getting the virus. It's not going to be safer in a month or two. Flattening the curve, and now I'm seeing empty hospitals. I'm seeing, like on your site, you had the one field hospital being dismantled or whatever. The hospitals are not overwhelmed. So, we have to end this sometime. Everybody's going to be exposed sooner or later.
Yes.
And it's like, and now we got chloroquine that cures a lot of people, and going to be.
Hello? Your phone is cutting in and out.
Oh, sorry. I'm on my headphones on my computer here. Still there?
Well, okay. You dropped out there. You're starting to sound like Johnny Mathis.
Johnny? Yeah, in my dreams.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you keep cutting out. Hello, can you hear me? Welcome to live radio, everybody. This is what the job is like. Okay, Arnold.
I'm sorry about that. Any better?
Go ahead.
Anyway, that's my main point there. Another something else I'd like to give a plug to a YouTuber I really love called Amazing Polly. If you haven't run into her, she does excellent research on putting together all the people involved in.
Okay, you just dropped out again. And, Arnold, we're going to let you go here.
Oh, it's making me crazy.
Yeah, it's making me crazy too. We're going to switch over to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. Good day. I'll make it real quickly if I can. Yeah, Michael, first off, that guy, Russ, calling everybody else who's calling in is saying they're right. We got to end the shutdown. May 1st, Trump needs to start weaning us back into working. This country cannot go on until past May 15th. Otherwise, it's a disaster. Okay, we need to start going back to work May 1st. Trump needs to start issuing orders. Hey, start putting this country back to work. That's all there is to it. I don't want to hear no more about the virus. Okay, the virus is the virus. You're 85 years old. You're in a nursing home. Use all the protection you can. They say maybe in February you're going to have another virus anyway. Who knows? So let's just end this nonsense. Okay, what I want to talk about now is, Michael, is this. Have you had a chance to see Breitbart today? You got Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey. You got Oprah Winfrey saying that this is against black people. Okay, it's all over Breitbart. Coronavirus against blacks, and Oprah is all freaked out over it. They need to speed up get a cure for it or whatever, a vaccine. And then you have on the same right after that, you got bumbling Joe imbecile Biden saying if he gets elected president, he's going to be like FDR. Like, we really need another FDR, Michael. Do we really need another FDR? Full-blown communism all over the place? Are you kidding me? Yeah, when it came to that, putting people back to work, that was one thing. Well, Trump's already had the economy roaring. The country's never did as good as it was doing until all this virus crap. And Hawley, the senator from Missouri, is right. The Chinese should be held accountable if this is what it proves out to be. We're going to get them for trillions of dollars for what they have done to the world's, trying to wreck the economies of the world.
No,
we don't
won't.
know that for sure.
No, we won't.
Well, we probably,
I mean, look at all the U.S. court decisions regarding Iran, and no foreign courts will enforce them. They got turned down by Luxembourg today.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question, Michael. I want to ask your opinion. What do you think of Oprah Winfrey in her statement about what's going on with that?
Well, that's something, again, it's an example of how everything that comes along is perverted and distorted to serve somebody's political agenda. And we've got people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are out there talking about environmental racism and how the racial inequality in this country means that blacks, and for that matter, Latinos, are more susceptible, when in point of fact, it could be genetic. You know, there are some illnesses that play genetic favorites, and COVID-19 may very well be one of them.
Well, that's a great point. And yeah, Michael, well, let me ask you this. What's going on with this tuberculosis? Where was tuberculosis coming from, Mexico or Central America? Back in the late 90s and the early 2000s? What's going on with that? Tuberculosis. Where was that being? How did that get so blown out of proportion?
Well, I think that basically came on in with some of the refugees and the illegal immigrants, because there were no medical checks being done. And I remember when I was a kid, tuberculosis was a real problem, but then it was eradicated inside the United States. And now here it is back again. You know, the blessings of the open borders.
Exactly. I still, for the life of me, all this crap about this coronas, but they don't say nothing about, legal invasion in sanctuary cities. These Democrats, that's why they want Biden there. They want open sanctuaries. They're going to give these illegals more than we ever got. Health-wise and other cause. And you had one caller, I ain't going to mention names, but Michael, he said he's a Democrat because he has nothing else to do. Well, why can't he turn independent? I mean, why don't you try to tell everybody in your state to go independent if you want to say, well, we're so overwhelmed with Democrats, we got to become a Democrat? No, you don't have to be a Democrat. You can be an independent voter, man, independent thinker, not a Democrat or Republican. Be an independent, for goodness sake. Think for yourself instead of having somebody, oh, well, I'm in this party, I'm in that party. No, be an independent thinker and think with your God-given brain that you were given to think things through, to have the thought of thinking it through. Not say, well, because of this part, his guy's probably right and the other guy's bad. Even the other guy's bad, he's a good guy. I mean, it's crazy here what's going on. And, I'm looking at this coronavirus and the filthy lies these media spinmeisters or doctors or whatever you want to call them are talking about. Every person mainly that's dying, 98% of them are 82 years old. They're in their 80s, man. It's absurd what and now they're saying, the illegals, the illegals got to be taken care of too. We got to cut them checks for, we got to spend $600 billion, $300 billion for illegal aliens. Are you serious? $300 billion would buy you a lot of masks and a lot of hospitals, wouldn't it, Michael?
Buys you a lot of votes too.
And it'll buy you, there you go, that's the thing. It'd buy you a lot of votes for the Demon Rat Party, because that's exactly what they are. They're trying to flood this country, take away the cultural identity, take away our guns. What I can say, Michael, with the gun, you're a citizen. Without the gun, you'll be a subject. And they know that in Venezuela. They know that in Cuba. They know it in Russia. They know it in China. They know it everywhere except this country. And once we allow them to take our guns, it's over. John Adams even said that, the second president of the United States. With the gun, you're a citizen. Without the gun, you will be a subject. And that was at his inaugural little ball they had. 300 people attended when he became the second president of the United States after Washington. That was out of the mouth of John Adams, who happened to, by the way, was like the third smartest man that ever sat in the White House as far as IQ goes. Him and his son Quincy are the two smartest of the top 5 presidents that ever sat in the presidency of the United States. And I think there's a couple other guys that are very intelligent too. I forgot. Andrew Jackson, believe it or not, was a pretty intelligent guy. He was in the top 10.
Well, Thomas Jefferson was number 1.
Yes, I think Jefferson was number 1, but I know Quincy Adams and the father were right there. They're like 2 and 3. I know they're not. I I think Quincy Adams might have been 1 and Jefferson 2, and then John Adams was 3. I think that's how the order was, what I remember seeing. But anyway, that's no big deal. But I just know this, Michael. This country has got to open up. Like all your callers are calling in, we've got to open this country by May 15th. President Trump's got to say, hey, man, we did the best we could. We got masks. We're starting to see the curve go down. Let's open this country back up. Even if you open this country 80% for the next 3 months, at least you're opening the stores. Things got to go back to work, man. There's no way. This country cannot absorb this. And then can you imagine, Michael, if we have a bumbling Biden in November as president? And he's going to have, he's talking now to having a transgender woman maybe as vice president? That's even on the news. Biden's even talking about, he might even, if we don't put Buttigieg, he'll put some woman who's bisexual. Or, it's unbelievable what's happening here. It's unbelievable. It's insane. It is insane. And, by the way, Michael, I'll let you go. I know you got other callers. Look at Joe Biden as Michael Lewis came to China. Oh, China's not a threat. China's great to us. In Russia, they're bad. Russia, they're the baddest people on earth. But here Joe Biden's making millions of dollars off the Chinese. Give me a break. This is all conspiracy. It's a hoax. I don't know what you call it. The virus maybe isn't a hoax, but you know what? We've had other pandemics. We've had pandemics like the one guy said about polio. We've had pandemics about other things. A lot worse than what's going on here. The polio virus in 1960s was worse, or 50s was worse than this, wasn't it, Michael?
Oh, yes, it was. It absolutely was.
We're not hearing about that. The polio virus is way worse what's going on right now. And they didn't shut the government back down in the 50s, did they?
Nope, they didn't. They didn't in 1918 either. Anyway, listen, Tom, we're going to let you go. All right, and we're going to switch over to Peter in Los Angeles. Aloha, Peter. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I'll keep it brief. Yesterday, I called in and used the Tuskegee experiments as an example. I said that they were injected. The gentleman that called after me was correct. I believe you agreed with him and you were right.
Yes.
They were already infected with syphilis, but even after World War II, when penicillin was widely available and absolutely killed syphilis, they let these guys go until 1972. Many of them died. Secondly, my family is mixed. My wife is African American, and I hear all the suspicion about this being directed at them. And there are, for instance, sickle cell is, that's specifically for blacks. Tay-Sachs, it's specifically for Jews. There's a lot of things that are specific, as you mentioned. But the other thing is they don't talk about nature or nurture, and it might be nature, but it also might be just horrible decisions, like no father ever, like 75% of the time, which means you're poor, which means you probably are uninsured, you're probably undereducated. All of this enormously higher, like 7 times what the rate of everybody else crime rate. I mean, some of it is their own decisions, but yet the agenda is always to lay the blame somewhere else, and that's the way the Democratic Party, by allowing them to lay the blame somewhere else, secures their lemming-like vote every 4 years. But that's one comment. The last comment is maybe some of your people can call in about this, but I'm pretty much into history, and Nazi Germany was almost completely without oil.
Yes.
They were driving for the Caucasus to try to take it, couldn't do it. Romania, the Palessi fields, which we started bombing like constantly from 43 on, but they came up with an enormous synthetic oil industry that ran. Yeah. I don't know if you could refine like really high grade like aircraft aviation, stuff, but they should do enough of it that everything else could run. And I'm just wondering what that is. Why we've heard almost nothing about that. There's been technology around for 70 years, and I'd like to know what the break-even point between that and oil is, and so on as well. But wanted to ask you that question.
Well, I'll look into it. Just off the top of my head, I think their synthetic fuel basically was a form of diesel. And during World War II, the Germans built, diesel engines into all their ground vehicles, and whereas the Allies were still using gasoline. So, which also, tends to explode when a hot bullet hits it. I think Germany had a process for converting coal into the diesel fuel. And as a matter of fact, there's a movement around here to have a coal to diesel plant, which is opposed by the locals. So I think that's the technology you're referring to.
Well, if anybody knows, I'd really appreciate, I bow to your scientific acumen, but if we have any petroleum engineers out there, I'd love to hear about that. But that's it for me, Michael. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks an awful lot. The beauty of the diesel engine is it can run on a wide variety of fuels. It's not highly specialized. Okay, let's go to Lenny in California. Lenny, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, thank you for taking my call, Michael.
Actually, we're going to have to
in Los Angeles.
Lenny, I'm going to have to put you on hold. I wasn't watching the clock. We got to take a break for commercials. Do not hang up. I'll come right back to you as soon as we finish the commercials. And welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Lenny in California about the economy. So, Lenny, take it away.
Yes, before I get to the economy, I want to comment on Peter, who said, I talked about the Tuskegee experiment. There were 399 of them who came in infected. 201 of them were not infected. Those are the facts. Okay, but still they weren't allowed to get treatment for damn near 40 years. Now, as far as him, as far as the black community not having fathers available, if you remember when they brought in the welfare system, the black women were told they couldn't have a male figure in the house in order to receive welfare. If you remember that, that's how that went down, and that was the way to split up the family and keep it apart and keep it poor, keep it destitute. But since then, the mind virus has sinked in, and you have a group of people who have victimized themselves in their thought mentality, which is what Oprah is trying to do now. Okay, but I understand she has to do her master's bidding. I understand that. When Seal, the singer, singer accused Oprah of being a procurist for Harvey Weinstein, the very next day, the LAPD launched an investigation into Seal, not into Harvey Weinstein, not into Oprah. Okay, but when I saw the photograph online of Oprah Winfrey sucking on the earlobe of Harvey Weinstein, I just got that sickening feeling of a sow suckling on a pig's ear, and I can't get it out of my head. But now, getting to the economy. As far as Trump is concerned, open up the economy. Tom is right. Everybody who's calling about this to open up this economy, you are correct. Open this thing up, because it doesn't matter what Trump does. If Trump goes right, the Democrats are going to go left. If he goes up, they're going to go down. But what I do like about Trump is that he's a man through it all. So go ahead and do what you got to do. I don't think it's going to hurt you in the voting. In fact, in the previous election, we were told Trump had no chance. He could never win. He's way behind in the polls. He's way behind in the points. And turns out, in reality, Hillary never stood a chance. So I think the American people are going to see it this way again. Let it divide. If you want to go blue states, go blue states. If you want to go red states, go red states. Let's get to the point and stop BSing one another. Let's get to the point, and then the quicker we can get to the point, be it the economy, being everything else, the quicker we can get real with each other, the quicker all this stuff is going to pass. I want to go real quick also to Bill Gates. Now,
okay.
I have a question for you, Mr. Rivera. Who in the hell died and handed him the title of Hippocrates?
Well, he just sort of
nobody
grabbed it onto himself. He's one of these people who thinks having a lot of money makes him a superior human being, and it doesn't. He's just a human being who happens to have a lot of money.
Exactly. He may have plans, but nature has bigger plans. I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the biggest things that they can't keep in the drugstore or the grocery stores are condoms. So it looks like out of the coronavirus, we may have another boom of nothing but human beings. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say in 9 months, yeah, we're going to see it.
Yeah. So, you know, he and his little Agenda 21 and his depopulation, George Soros-backed evil schemers, it's going to backfire anyway. You have one plan, but nature has another plan, and there's nothing you can do about it, okay? Just because you can't get off the way they get off, don't be sick about it. Now, I want to talk about the economy and these box stores. Now, I just have another question for you. You know, they're choosing what to sell, what not to sell, and leaving their own business open for Amazon just to take everything.
Yes.
To me, no intelligent business person would make that kind of decision. You're making these kind of decisions because you're being told. There's another agenda going on, which leads me to the L.A. sheriff, okay? First, he lets out the prisoners. Then he tells the public, you can't buy guns to protect yourself. Now, he's saying today there's a crime wave coming. Does any of this make sense?
Not really. Not really. It's just they're all over the place.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say they're all over the place with all. Yeah.
And just one more thing to Bill Gates, okay, and to those who've been manipulated of your own free will, that you have to submit to this, that, you know, you have a mind, okay, you have something called a soul. And if you think of your own free will, you have to submit to this thing, a digital tattooing. It sounds like something out of the Nazi death camps, supposedly. And the one guy from one bank saying we should wear badges like they did to starve David in the so-called Nazi death camps. This is just eerily sick to me. But, you know, to the people who think that you have to do this, I'm going to revert back to that old Bolshevik. I hate to lose this, but anyway, maybe another day. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We got to take another break for commercials. We got more callers waiting on the line, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Bruce in Texas. Bruce in Texas, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I'll be real quick. This is my second call as a courtesy to the next caller. But I think, was it Peter who brought up the Germans in World War II and their synthetic oil program?
I think it was the caller before him.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, anyway, just to put this out there, they did that. They made that out of coal. And it was a very energy-intensive process because basically they had no choice. Like you said, you know, all their oil fields were cut off and being bombed to smithereens. And so, you know, they had brilliant scientists back then. So they came up with a process to extract liquid petroleum out of coal. So that's why it's not being used today. Basically, it's just not economical to do that. But also, did you know that they came out that the additive STP and, you know, that the little blue bottle? Well,
yes.
that they also came out with that in order to cool the air-cooled Volkswagens that were staff cars in the Africa Corps. And that was brought over to Operation Paperclip, and that Andy Granatelli and company came up with that. So that's the story on that. Now, on the sickle cell, I believe that's an evolutionary reaction to malaria or some other pathogen that attaches itself to the blood cell that was common in Africa. So the sickle is actually a method, or a way the body came up with to help the white blood cells get at that pathogen. So I'm not sure if it's really a disease. I mean, a disease you can catch. I believe it's just inherited from people in Africa because that's how it came about. And I just want to throw this one. Oh yeah, Tom, man. Tom needs to get his own show, man. He's missing out. I mean, I don't agree with everything he says sometimes, but man, that guy can really hit it. He's got a talent. He needs to get a program. He can make a mint on YouTube or something. You know, maybe have John Statler give him a holler.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. the Terminator movies. This is just something that just freaked me out, and for the conspiracy people out there, just put it out there just for something to think about. I was watching Terminator 3 the other night, and for those who haven't seen it or just to refresh the memory, another Terminator comes after the hero. Hell, his name's skipping my name. But anyhow, in the first part of the movie, the Terminator, the female Terminator, the TX, she activates police cars and ambulances, kind of like automated. She accesses their computers, and they race off chasing after the hero, what have you.
John Connor.
Then later on
John Connor.
John Connor, my God, John Connor, yeah. They go chasing after John Connor. So then later on, when they're in the Air Force complex and Skynet is being activated, the TX dresses up like a female airman, and she accesses the killer robots in the basement, and she's dressed up in the Air Force uniform, and on her badge the name is Hastings. Now you remember Michael Hastings? His Mercedes-Benz raced out of control.
Yes.
And killed him. I just found that kind of weird, Well,
Hastings is kind of a common name. It's kind of a common name.
Yeah, maybe so. But it sure was strange how they came out with it. The drones and the surveillance and the computerized technocracy. Kevin Cameron and Gail Ann Hurd. I wonder if they got some tips from DARPA or what have you for the scripts. It was just pretty strange there. And that's all I got. I'll let the next caller come on. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks a lot for the phone call. We're going to go to Joe in Nome. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
I was wondering if you saw this article today in the Intercept. Eric Prince offers lethal services to Russian mercenary firm. They're talking about Wagner. My comment, insofar as Prince is the influential Trump administration advisor, subcontractor to the Russian military, who's the commie? I mean, this guy, why shouldn't he be labeled a state sponsor of terrorism? I mean,
because he's on our side.
Yeah.
One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
For Russia?
Well, again, it depends on which way they're pointed. If they're pointed at your enemy, they're a freedom fighter. They're a hero. If they're pointed at you, they're a terrorist.
Yeah, well, I found that, in reading the article, apparently Prince offered his services to Russia, or to this Wagner group, for support in Libya and Mozambique. Well, I pretty much know what's going on in Libya, but I'm not sure what's going on in Mozambique. I was going to look into that, but yeah, they just throw this term, commie this, commie that, terrorist this, terrorist that. But it's back to what I was mentioning to Dustin in New Jersey. This is just gangster capitalism.
Yes. Was it ever anything else?
Well, hey, I'm only 65. Who am I?
Oh, you young whippersnapper.
Yeah, okay. Well, take care of yourself.
You're
Hope
just
you're both
a kid.
feeling good.
You're just a kid. All right. Well, Joe,
Yeah.
thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Miles in Maine. Aloha, Miles. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Aloha, Michael. You know what? We need Bruce to get his own show because we don't need him to call in twice and do a movie review on the Terminator when we get an hour less of this show. And I wanted to comment on Lenny because he kind of gave a sharp analysis about this blacks on welfare and all that. Well, first of all, welfare should be very select. I don't even honestly, and about 75, 80% of the cases should not exist. Unless, in my opinion, you're disabled. But, it's not about taking the black man out of the house nonsense. It's about people who are sitting there shacking up. So after that black man leaves the house for whatever reason, then the black woman or whatever woman shacks up with some guy, and that's what it was meant to prevent. So, here we go again where race is the card. But that's not the issue. The issue is that people won't abuse it by moving in somebody who's a bum and then them living off the welfare. See what I'm saying, Michael?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's what it's about.
The system
it's not
is
about
abused.
this
There's
was
no question
something
about
directed
it.
at black men. Pardon me?
I said the system is being abused. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And you know what? It's still being abused by whoever, black, white, or whatever. I see it around that, people are coming here shacking up with these women. Hell, I see these illegal invaders shacking up with these women. Mostly white women, but I see them shacking up with them, and they shouldn't even be here. And they're still on welfare, and they're collecting checks. And at night, they're panhandling at Walmart or wherever and collecting money there, too. So, the system is just rife with corruption and abuse. And until we cut it all out, the people that are going to take it on the chin are the people like us, And I just wanted to say I really enjoy all the calls. Sebastian, Tom is awesome, Lenny, W, and the whole outfit, Peter, everybody. You got a great show, Mike, and we got to keep it up.
Well, that's why we
2 hours, I think.
to Republic Broadcasting. Anything else, Miles?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think this going down to 2 hours on your show is killing us because, it's just so information packed. I just can't see it in 2 hours. It just doesn't seem like it's doing it justice.
I got to
Michael,
tell you,
thank you so much.
I got to tell you, in all honesty, 3 hours a day was killing me, and I'm glad it's down to 2 hours. It's a little more manageable.
Yeah, and in that case, if that's the case, due to your health and that, everything going on, hey, 2 hours, I'd rather have you than not have you at all. So thank you. I'm
trying to make the 2 hours work as best I can for everybody.
Well, maybe we could get Lady Clara to come in for one, and maybe pick up that third hour or something. She's a great show, too, with herself.
Well, it's always possible, but I think she's happy right now just doing the Friday show with me. Anyway, Miles, we're going to let you go because we're getting close to the end of the program. We still got callers on the line. So let's go to Fred in Michigan. Aloha, Fred. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
So, gangster capitalism, communitarianism, I recall being constituted by the likes of Trotsky and Marx, Engels. University of Michigan has a big classroom and office building called Engels Hall in honor of that guy Engels, who was, I guess, Marx's bosom buddy pal, right?
Yes.
And they had Moses Hess. Moses Hess was their secret rabbi, their secret Talmudic Kabbalah rabbi. I'm sure Shabbat Lubavitch. Tex Mars authored a book, Holy Serpent of the Jews, and Voices of the Dead. And both of those, of course, are banned from Amazon. Voices of the Dead, I had no idea that this guy, Rabbi Yochai, at some point in time is the guy that authored the Kabbalah. And Rabbi Yochai prominently declares that the Goyim Gentile people are just cattle slaves to be used however the chosen folks, what I call the Hasatanic, Baal Talmudic, Baal Kabbalah, serpent semenite, racist supremacists, communitarians choose to do, as they are now with this, as Ron Paul says, this global scamdemic. And I got to ask you, Mike, Peter Duisberg at UCal Berkeley in 2014 co-authored a book with two colleagues who are virologists by the title, The HIV Hoax,
Yes.
2,000 Virologists Can't Be Wrong. Okay? That book can't be found anywhere, even though it's only from 2014. And then when I heard Saturday night's broadcast, I hope everyone in your audience will go and listen to P.J. Barton from Saturday night, this past Saturday. I caught only the 12 o'clock hour, and there was some really brilliant, eloquent UK fellow who's an economist and an electronics expert, at least in the 12 o'clock, maybe from 11:30 onward. People got to hear it, including you, Mike. It's absolutely stellar, absolutely stellar. And I guess the first half was Mark Steele, also from the UK, who's an electronics engineer, formerly with the defense industry there. And what these two fellows and others have now corroborated, even this guy, Newt Witowski, I don't know where, he's some big-time immunologist.
Can we get to the point?
Yeah.
I'm kind of losing track of where
the point is we're being played as sheeple, communitarian sheeple for a vaccine. And the documentary Vax that features Andrew Wakefield,
yes,
Mars has it available. It's probably on YouTube. That's what they're setting us up for, Mike, is a pseudo compelled vaccination. That's going to be for sure a death vaccine, don't you think?
Well, I don't know what the vaccine itself is actually going to do. I'm very nervous about the fact that it's being rushed forward without appropriate safeguards. But I still remember the swine flu vaccine from 1976 that killed 50 times as many people as the swine flu did. So I think there's an area of concern. But, there's big money involved here. And when the big money speaks, everybody, in Washington, D.C. stands up and salutes.
Yeah, and that would be AIPAC. That would be AIPAC for sure. And I'm sure they've got their meaty hands in all of this. Yeah. And so my advice to the audience is, no matter what you hear, tune into RBN, listen to people like you and PJ Barton and callers like Lark in Texas, etc., because that's the only sources. Chris Hinckley, oh man, people got to hear Chris's broadcast. That's the perfect primer for your broadcast. Road Warrior Radio, okay? That's what I want everybody to do. Go back and listen to Chris's archives, including today, okay?
Okay, well, thank you very much for the phone call, Fred. We're getting close to the end of the show. We're going to switch over to Mark in New York. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, Mike. It's always a pleasure. I'm glad that you're doing 2 hours a day. If that's what it means for you to get better and stuff, you could probably always get. But I could see you doing more like lectures or producing little videos and maybe John posting them to the RBN site. Like the RBN, like a plugin for WordPress can have its own Facebook where you guys could maybe a little donation of $5 a month or something. You get an access to all these, because your video on the money on the Fed just goes by. I've had to watch it many times and I still got to wrap my head around it. And it reminds me that there's other things out there that I watch. I watch a demo for the Great Courses Plus, and there's this guy talking about the Fed. And he goes, oh, the problem with the Fed back when it started, they just didn't trust them. And I'm thinking, Mike Rivero would have a field day with what this guy is saying. And there's a whole another video series on nationalism versus globalism. I mean, so there's a wealth of stuff to lecture on. But anyway, I called because on the funny side, New York has a saying, help a brother out. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for me. But I was thinking about that because Pelosi, in what they passed, put millions out for the alt-left radical progressive NPR, but there was no constitutional based politicians supporting the alt-right indie conservative talk movement. And I think
No,
that NPR, if
we
you
don't
listen
have
to
that.
them,
Mark, I got to put you on hold. Got to put you on hold. Going to take a commercial break. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsor. Welcome back to our show. Last segment of our program today. We're talking with Mark in New York. And Mark, can you just sort of pick up where you left off?
Yeah, I wanted to call in about Bernie. It's kind of ticking me off because people, it comes down, well, this health care is a right. Look, people have a right to take care of themselves first because nobody else is really going to take care of you. And I was just watching some psychology where they said, society does not want to take mother and father you when you get past 18. It's a mature adult's responsibility to kind of mother and father yourself. And part of that is, eating right and stuff. Because I was watching over the weekend the hype that they're describing, the kind of people, they're making kind of light of the problems of people that are dying with this coronavirus. They say hypertension, which is, again, boozing, eating, drinking, slothing, watching TV, sitting on the couch, And then I looked up, and then globally, the obese people, Polynesian Islands, probably Hawaii's in there too, and the Saudi Arabian countries and America, top third, right in there. And then I said, well, what's the top killers in the country? And it is heart disease, but these numbers don't. Right now it's like 60 for coronavirus. Take away all the obese people, maybe it would be no more than a light flu, which they kind of hint at. It's sad that people, they're dying. But with that aside, looking at the health care, they can't, with the country supposedly being the best health care, and that's been a debate here, and I believe in nonprofit health care somewhere. It used to be in America. I've had debates on social media about it. I just want to say it's not working now, and they're scared, and hospitals are crashing. And I do have a list of things, but will they, they can't. You got to be able to take care of yourself. And I was just looking at, I did things, but eventually, if the government does take it over, they're gonna, knowing what they're doing now with the cards and not letting you out and stuff like that, making you self-quarantine, that's serious stuff. And I'm saying, you heard me say, they're going to make you wear a watch. You make sure if they can check your heartbeat. If you check out your BMI, and then you have actuaries just simply saying whether you're a liability or an asset or a liability, and that's what it comes down to. And if you're a liability, it's like, hey, maybe the ambulance is going to get to you first, and that's why you're really on your own when it comes. I mean, why should the country and the people's health take care of you if you can't, monitor what you put in your mouth and get out and exercise? And that's basically it. And that's what they all were. All the symptoms are all about, and the whole problem with what's in the country, the top 10. I have a few, the heart disease, the top. That's 635K, 23%. Cancer. That, again, smoke. I wrote down the similarities. Smoke, obesity, a little older, sometimes genetics, inflammation.
Okay,
so
Mark,
these are
I gotta
things
let
that we
you
can
go.
control.
Mark,
Sure.
I got to let you go.
Well, thank you.
We're at the end of the show here. Please stay tuned for John Stadmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Please spread the word of RBN. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. I posted a link to whatreallyhappened.com that's a radio station finder where you type in your zip code and it'll list all the radio stations that cover your area and the type of station they are, including talk radio. So you might want to contact those stations and ask them to seriously look at Republic Broadcasting and picking up some of our programming there. Please donate. We need your help. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.